Hi boys and girls, it's Miss Ashley. Today's Handwriting Without Tears letter is all about the letter W. And the letter W makes the W sound. Can everybody say that with me? W for the letter W. But before we learn how to make the letter W using our blue mat and writing the letter W using our chalkboard, I'd like to share with you our Alphatel story, and the title of our story today is Worm's Wagon. One day, Worm went to the woods to gather walnuts. He brought his wagon with him. On his way home, Worm saw Woodpecker whistling in a weeping willow. Woodpecker asked Worm for a ride. "Wow," said Woodpecker, "what a wagon!" And this is our woodpecker. It's a type of bird with a long beak, and they use their beak to knock on trees, and it makes a loud noise when they do that. Worm wiggled along, pulling Woodpecker in his wagon. Soon they came upon Weasel, eating some watermelon. Weasel asked Worm for a ride. "Wow," said Weasel, "what a wagon!" And a weasel is an animal that lives on the ground. You can have weasels as pets. They can also be called ferrets. And weasels are about the size of a small cat. They just have shorter legs. Oh, Worm wiggled along, pulling Woodpecker and Weasel in his wagon. Before long, they bumped into Wombat, wearing her new wig. Wombat asked Worm for a ride. And a wombat is a type of animal that is from the country Australia, and they're in the same family as the kangaroo, and that family is called the marsupial family. Those animals all have pockets, and they raise their babies in their pockets until they're old enough to be out on their own. So now Worm has how many animals in his wagon? He has Woodpecker, he has Weasel, and he has Wombat. Let's see, who's he going to pick up next? Worm wiggled along, pulling Woodpecker, Weasel, and Wombat in his wagon. Next, they met Wolf. On his way to work, Wolf asked Worm for a ride. "Wow," said Wolf, "what a wagon!" I think Worm's wagon's getting a little full. Let's see if Wolf fits in the wagon. Oh, he did. He squeezed in. Worm wiggled along, pulling Woodpecker, Weasel, Wombat, and Wolf in his wagon. Soon they came upon a walrus, winking and waving. Walrus asked Worm for a ride. "Wow," said Walrus, "what a wagon!" And there's our walrus. Worm looks like he's getting a little tired. He's having a hard time pulling the wagon with all of his animal friends in there. Worm wiggled along, pulling Woodpecker. Who came next? Weasel. Then who was the third animal? Wombat. And then there was Wolf and Walrus. Oh my goodness. Up ahead, they saw Whale playing in the water. Whale asked Worm for a ride. "Wow," said Whale, "what a wagon!" Do you think Whale's gonna fit in the wagon? I don't know. Oh my goodness. Worm wiggled with all his might, trying to pull woodpecker, weasel, wombat, wolf, walrus, and whale in the wagon. But the wagon would not move. The wheels started to wobble. And wobble means to wiggle. Wham! The weight was too much for the wagon. It crashed to the ground. "Oh no, my wagon!" Worm wailed. And wailed just means to cry. His wagon is all into pieces. "Don't worry, Worm," the animal said. Worm's friends worked on the wagon all afternoon. I think they're going to help him rebuild his wagon. When the wagon was fixed, Worm wiggled into it. Then Wombat, Weasel, Wolf, Woodpecker, Walrus, and Whale pulled Worm all the way home. And Weary Worm had a wonderful ride. And weary just means to be tired, but he looks pretty happy if you ask me. I think that's a better idea for all of his animal friends to pull him, one animal, instead of Worm pulling all 6 of his animal friends. And then back here, how many things can you find that begin with the letter W? And I see a bunch on these pages. I see some walnuts in the bowl sitting on the windowsill. Window starts with the letter W. We have our wolf and our whale and our woodpecker, our worm, and our wagon. And what is wolf blowing? A whistle. So you can circle those things that start with the letter W. And now we're going to learn how to make our letter W using our lines and curves. So if you look at the letter W, how many lines do you see? Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 lines. If I cover up part of my letter W, what letter does that look like? The letter V, the letter we did last week. So if I uncover the part of my letter W, we have 2 letter V's that make the letter W, and they connect at the top. So to make the letter W, using my blue mat, what type of lines am I going to use? Am I going to use straight lines or curved lines? Let's look at our letter W again. Are those straight lines or curved lines, boys and girls? Very good. You really used your brain. They are straight lines, and we counted 4 straight lines. The first straight line is going to go, it's going to slide down to the bottom. And then I'm going to use my second straight line, and it's going to climb up to the middle of the top of my blue mat. And my third big straight line is going to slide down to the bottom. Let's see if I can keep all of these together. It's tricky. I need more arms. And then our fourth straight line is going to climb up to the top, to the opposite corner of the smiley face. And there you have it. And it's hard for me to show you standing up here with our blue mat standing up. If it was laying flat, I could show you better. see if I can hold it up against me here and show you. The letter W on our blue mat. There we go. Almost. Oh, I'm getting ready to lose a big straight line. I need a helper here. Okay, there we go. And there we have our letter W. 2 letter V's that are connected together. There's our letter W. Now, let's talk about how we are going to write our letter W. We need to remember our 3 steps. So we wet, and wet starts with the letter W. We dry with our paper towel, and we try with our chalk. So, I have my wet sponge, but before we do this, I want to listen to our song and sing our song about where we start our letters. Where do you start your letters at the top? Where do you start your letters at the top? If you want to start a letter, then you better remember to start them at the top. Is this the top? No, it's the bottom. Is this the top? No, it's the middle. Is this the top? It's the top. Where do you start your letters at the top? Where do you start your letters at the top? Where do you start your letters at the top? If you want to start a letter, then you better remember to start them at the top. Is this the top? No, it's the bottom. Is this the top? No, it's the middle. Is this the top? It's the top. Where do you start your letters at the top? Okay, now our 3 steps. Again, wet, dry, and try. So I have my sponge. Let's wet our letter W. And we don't want to squeeze our sponge too hard because then he'll cry all over our chalkboard. So we slide down to the bottom. And when I get to the bottom, I do not pick up. I want to stay on my chalkboard. And I'm going to climb up to the top in the middle. And then I'm going to not pick up again. I'm going to slide back down to the bottom. And I'm not picking up yet. I'm still on my chalkboard. And here I'm going to climb back up to the top. And there you have it. So the only time I picked up was when I reached the top on the opposite side of the smiley face. So let's try that again. We have slide down to the bottom. Don't pick up down here. I climb up to the top in the middle. And again, we don't pick up. Slide down to the bottom. Staying on the chalkboard. Don't pick up your sponge. And then I climb back up to the top in the opposite corner. And there I have my letter W. Now, to dry my letter W, I have my paper towel. I'm going to ball it up. And I'm going to start over here at the top where my smiley face is. And I'm going to slide down to the bottom. Again, I do not pick up. And I climb back up to the top in the middle. And I slide down to the bottom. Don't pick up. And then I climb back up to the top at the opposite corner. And there I dried my letter W. And now to try writing my letter W, I need my chalk. So I start at the top. And I'm going to slide down to the bottom. And I don't pick up. I climb back up to the top in the middle. And then I slide down to the bottom, the opposite corner. And I'm going to climb back up to the top. And there I have my letter W. And now, in your workbook today, there is one page that we're going to do. And on our workbook, we have a wagon. Wagon starts with the letter W, just like Worm had a wagon in our story. And we also have wheel. And when we combine a W with the letter H in a word, it makes the wh sound. So it's a softer sound instead of w. So we have wagon and wheel. And first you're going to trace your letter W's with a pencil or a crayon. We start at the top where our smiley face is, and we're going to slide down to the bottom. Don't pick up when you reach the bottom. Then we climb back up to the top, and then we slide down to the bottom, and we climb back up to the top. So 2 letter V's connected together at the top make the letter W. So we do not pick up when writing the letter W until we reach the end at the top over here. So tracing your 4 letter W's, and then you may color your wagon any color you like. And remember, when we color, we want to try to stay in the lines the best we can and not scribble all over the paper. All right, I hope you enjoyed our lesson today, boys and girls, and I will see you next week for our next letter of our alphabet. Have a good week.